I've heard of someone who found foundation issues in their property and it cost them $100K to fix. So it is not a joke. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Rennie, and on this channel I do fashion, finance, and lifestyle content. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button, and whether you are new or returning, please hit that like button as it really helps me with the algorithm. Today's video is going to focus on real estate. And I know we have a lot of videos about real estate, and like I encourage people to purchase houses and all that, but I want to take a step back because lately I've been hearing a lot of commentary about go buy a house, go build generational wealth, everyone needs to own a house. And while I think that's great and all, I do not think that everyone needs to or has to or should aspire to purchase a house. I think it's something that is nice to have and it can contribute to building generational wealth, but not everyone has the same situation. It's not essential for all people. So today I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons and comparing renting to owning, and when it may be better for you to rent versus when it may be better for you to own. Everything is different for everyone, and I don't want people to think they need to buy a house just to keep up with the Joneses. Like, it's a very serious decision to purchase a house, so I want to make sure that people understand how serious it is and ensure that they make the right choices and that they make an informed choice before they do decide to purchase a home. What really sparked this video was I saw a tweet that said, can we stop saying homeowner if you're paying a mortgage? You are renting too. And when I saw this, my first reaction was like, but who am I renting from? I own that house. You know, like, it was the ego thing. I got a little defensive and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how do I own? How am I renting? But I decided to take a step back, look from the guy's perspective, and I realized that, okay, I see what he's saying. He's saying that we're paying rent basically to the bank and we don't technically own it. But I realized that even though he may think that, and I can kind of see it from his point of view, it's still fundamentally flawed in the way he's thinking, and I'm sure a lot of people do think this way. So I wanted to demystify it. I thought this could be a good opportunity, a learning opportunity, so I can tell you exactly what the differences are between renting and owning. This is not a video to bash any side. I'm simply telling the pros and cons of each. But before I go on, I want to know, do you actually agree with this person, or do you disagree? So do you think that if you have a house that has a mortgage, are you just a glorified renter, or are you truly a homeowner? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section. The first thing that I'll start off with is that when you are determining whether you should rent or own, I think the very first thing to know is, where do you want to live? What are your lifestyle goals? Do you want to live in the core where there's lots of entertainment, lots of fun, lots of things to do, close to work, but smaller spaces? Or are you willing to move out to the suburbs because you want to have a larger family, you want to have more space for your family, and you also just want to like have a backyard for your kids to run in? So these are some of the things you need to consider when you're determining where you should live. And I live in Ontario, so this may be a very Ontario specific thing, but I think in most major cities they're typically more expensive than the suburbs, so it should apply to wherever you are currently living. As I said, these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself before you decide if renting or owning is better for you. The next thing is, you should find what the average price is of a home or a condo in the city that you are looking to stay in. So if you look at the average prices in Toronto versus the average prices in Kitchener, Waterloo, the prices are pretty different. So that may determine where you want to live. And it may see, is renting more affordable in one place than the other? And does it make more sense for me to rent in this city? If I want to live in the city, it may make more sense for me to rent than to own. Then I would say you should make a list. So look at the pros and cons of renting versus owning in the city that you want to live in. So today I'm going to compare renting versus owning across a few categories, and I will start off with ownership. When you own a property, of course, you have the legal rights to that property. It is your property. No one's coming to steal it from you. No one's coming to move into your house and tell you that, no, this is my property. Like, it is completely yours. You own it. Obviously, there's a caveat that if you do not pay your property taxes or if you do not pay your mortgage for a certain amount of time, your home can basically be repossessed. However, like, in general, the house is yours and it belongs to you. Nobody can just tell you, yeah, get out. Like, this is no longer your space. It is yours. You have the deed. Your name is on title. Like, this is your place. This is your space. When it comes to renting, you really don't own anything when it comes to that property. You are someone who simply lives there, and you do not own anything except the things inside the property that you brought into that property. So yeah, you don't, with renting, you don't really own anything there. Not a huge deal. Like, I don't think everyone needs to own a property, but just something to consider. Then we'll go into the length of commitment and flexibility. When it comes to owning a home, I think you have a lot less flexibility when it comes to moving. If the average person actually owns a home or moves homes every 3 to 5 years, so like that 3 years is a pretty long time to stay in one place. Whereas if you are renting, you have the flexibility to literally every year move to a new place and try out new places. This is especially good if you want to try out a new city and you don't know whether you'll like it or not. You're not stuck with that, not stuck, but you don't have that huge that huge mortgage that is saying, okay, maybe it's not wise to just move immediately. Maybe we should stay a bit longer. So a house is purchasing a house is a really big commitment. Whereas with leasing, there's really no commitment. You're just you can even break your lease if you really wanted to. So you're not fixed to a specific place, which is very appealing for someone who is nomad, for example, or someone who's just trying to try out different areas. Next, let's talk about the change in value. When it comes to owning, there are lots of pros with owning when it comes to change in value. So if the property that you own is increasing in value, you are benefiting from that appreciation of the house. So if my house is $200,000, in a year or two it's $250,000, that's $50,000 that I now have. And when I sell that house, I can sell it at a profit, most likely. In a normal housing market, it is going up. On the flip side, the con of this is that if the opposite thing happens and the housing market crashes and the house is now worth less than you purchased it for, you are selling at a loss. So of course, these are things to consider. The good thing is you can just hold and wait it out until the market returns back to normal, of course. But of course, not everyone is able to do this. So it is a risk that you are taking on when you do purchase a house, that the change in value is something that will affect you either positively or negatively. As well as you pay your monthly mortgage payments, you are building equity in the property. So say you put 20% down at the beginning. Every time that you pay your monthly mortgage payments, you're taking less of the bank's 80% and you're putting more and more of yours towards owning that property, which is a great thing. And as I said, you benefit from the appreciation and value of a property. Also an amazing thing. When it comes to renting, on the other hand, the good thing is there is no risk with renting, really. Like when it comes to change of value. So whether the house value goes up or the house value goes down, your amount that you have is set, it's stable, there's no risk to you. Like, you don't really care if the market's going wild, because it has no impact on you. However, of course, you are just paying someone else's mortgage when it comes to renting. So you are paying your landlord each month and you're basically paying their mortgage so that they can afford this house. So some people don't like the idea of paying someone else's mortgage when they could just be paying their own, but again, it depends on you and what you desire. Next, let's go on to the monthly cost. So when it comes to owning your own property, you as the landlord or the owner are responsible for all costs that are associated with that property. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much a property actually costs. It is not just the down payment, it is not just the monthly mortgage costs, there are a lot more. And I have a video that I will link up here that will go through how much I paid for my house and how it's much more expensive than you think. But there are costs associated with it, those monthly costs, biannual costs, stuff like that. So there's like property taxes, your insurance, maintenance. Like there's so many other things that come with it, which I think is a con of a house. But of course, it's your baby, it's yours that you're building. So some people don't mind it, but it is definitely more expensive than renting. And obviously, when it comes to renting, that's not the case. You don't have these additional monthly costs that could just randomly pop up, because you have a set lease with your landlord and they say, okay, you're gonna pay me $1,500 every month, and that is your set rent. And obviously utilities if those are not included in the rent. So when it comes to this is good for you because it allows you to keep a strict budget, and you know that this is the max amount that's going to come out of my account each month. No special surprises. Unless, of course, you break something, then you will have to replace it. But for the most part, your rent and your utilities are your set cost, nothing additional from that, which is great for you. I think another pro of this is that it allows you to save more money if you do want to buy a house in the future. Because you have a set monthly payment for your rent, you can then create a budget and figure out how much you actually need to save up for a house, and then save towards that house every month. So I think you can do both. You could start renting and then save up for that house in the future. So let's go into maintenance. When it comes to maintenance as a homeowner, you really have to be prepared for whatever could possibly come your way. Like, I know I've heard of someone who found foundation issues in their property and it cost them $100K to fix. So it is not a joke. You may have to pay in order to to maintain your property, and that's just something that comes along. And the thing is, you can't budget for this because you really don't know what will happen. So this could be a sinking fund that you have, or an emergency fund that you have to, in case of an emergency like this. But honestly, you really have no clue how much damage it will be. So that's one reason I like having a new property that is covered under a condo corporation, because the condo corporation actually pays for the roof and they pay for any outside amenities. So if anything breaks outside, it's not my problem. It's nothing to do with me. However, of course, if something happens internally, it's probably covered. If it's not covered by my warranty, then it's on me and I have to account for that. When it comes to renting, maintenance, the pro is that there are really no additional maintenance costs on you. Unless, of course, you are the one doing the damage, then you will have to pay. But general maintenance costs fall on the landlord rather than you. Next, I will go on to stability. I think this is one of the pros that comes with ownership, because you are very stable and you have peace of mind knowing that nobody can kick you out of your place. Like, it is your home, you bought it. As long as you pay your monthly mortgage and you pay your property taxes and your utilities, no one can really kick you out. It is your place, you own it. It's very safe. Like, I don't know, there's a sense of comfort in knowing that nobody has the power to move you out of your place. When it comes to renting, on the other hand, there is a lack of stability simply because there are so many ways that somebody could just tell you, yeah, get out of my property. I know there are a lot of rules for tenants here in Ontario. I'm not sure about everywhere else, which is good. But for example, if I wanted to move back into my property, I could just tell my tenants that, yeah, sorry, gotta go. And that's not the safest place to be, especially when you've made a home in this place. It's not really fun to have to move. Also, after the 1 year, we could say that, yeah, my lease, I'm not gonna renew this lease with you, or I'm gonna evict you for this reason, or this. So there are lots of things that can happen that can kick you out of your original place, which is not favorable. But again, if you are looking for a short-term thing, no big deal. Who cares? You can leave after a year if you wanted to. Next, let's go on to multiple sources of income. So when you own a property, you're able to turn your property into a money-making machine. So just like my property, I have tenants in it, so they pay my mortgage each month. Or I could do Airbnb, or if I'm living in the property, I can rent out the basement. Like, there are so many options when it comes to owning it. So you're basically turning that house that is technically a liability, you're turning that house into something that is profitable for you. Whereas when you rent, you're technically not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to rent out, like sublet your place, or typically. But I know a lot of people do rent out if they have an apartment that they're renting, they may rent it out and put it on Airbnb. If you don't get caught, then it is what it is. But yeah, I think there are opportunities for multiple streams of income in both places. So this could be a pro for both. Lastly, let's just go into the autonomy when you do own versus when you rent. When you own a place, you basically have the freedom and the autonomy to really do whatever you want. I could paint my house purple if I wanted to. I could paint the doors black. I could put green carpet everywhere in my house, and nobody could tell me anything. Whereas if I was renting, I have to ask the landlord's permission in order to do any changes. Again, it's not a big deal. Like, I think most landlords, if you're willing to paint the house and you're gonna paint it back when you leave, most landlords really don't care. However, again, it's the point that you have to ask someone else. You know, you don't have the freedom to just do what you want in your place. Also, not a huge deal depending on the type of person that you are. Overall, I think there are many pros of both renting and of home ownership. It really depends on you and your individual situation. I think that if you are in a short-term situation where you don't plan on being somewhere for a long time and you are maybe trying to get to know the area and see if you actually like it and want to move there, renting is perfect for you. Or if you're young, you want to be close to work, for example, or your lifestyle or the housing prices don't make sense to purchase, it makes more sense to rent in that area, I would definitely say that, like, choose renting. If you are looking to build equity in a property, or looking to make multiple sources of income from a property, or you just want that stability and you're planning on staying somewhere long term, maybe choose home ownership. I think the most important thing to do is not to shame one or the other for doing what they are doing. We are all on our own paths and on our own journey. It really doesn't matter whether you rent or own. As long as we are being smart with our money and doing what works best for our unique situation, I really don't think there's a problem with either one. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you want to see from my channel, please let me know and I will get them done for you. Thank you so much. Bye.